All right, what's up YouTube? And today is going to be a little montage of the build of my Bartop arcade. So here we see the initial unit that we had pretty much finished. You can see there we had even started painting the sides before we realized it wouldn't work. And here is the new MDF that we've already rough cut for the new machine. Here's a TV frame my brother built to keep the TV in place. And here we go. So what you're going to need for this build is at the very least a circular saw. I'm very lucky my brother's got a lot of tools. Table saw would be of great help, but if you don't have access to one, it's fine. Circular saw and a jigsaw can get you through most of this. Here we're using a jigsaw to cut the semicircle out of the two sides. Very important to note with a jigsaw and trying to cut the semicircle. I don't even know what you'd call it, but I'm just going to keep calling it the semicircle here. The slower you go and the more you take your time, the better off you will be and the better the results will be. It is also vital, you can kind of see there that you see some nails protruding. That is because we nailed both of the side pieces together. After doing all the straight cuts, we're now doing the semicircle cut. You can see the clamps as well, so it is clamped solidly to a table. It's not going to move, and the two sides are nailed together. You do this obviously to make sure that the two sides match perfectly. Again, you want to take your time. You can see here it's going very slow, and the end results will pay off if you take your time and do this properly. If it's not perfect, don't worry. You can always just sand down a couple of imperfections, which we did end up having to do a little bit anyway. A couple of the cuts were a bit too square for the round. But it's not the end of the world, but obviously the slower you go here, the less sanding you're going to need to do. If you're going to do this kind of project, safety, honestly, just think of your safety here. If you have no idea what you're doing with tools, get someone who does. I did do parts, but obviously I can't film myself cutting stuff. But a lot of it I just let my brother do because he used to work in constructions. It's his tools. He knows what he's doing. I think I'll show it a bit later, but you want to wear some safety goggles whenever you're doing this. My brother often doesn't, but he wears glasses, so it comes out to about the same. And if you're working with MDF, and I cannot stress this enough, you want at least a particle mask, if not a full mask. Why? MDF is basically wood dust that they've re-glued together and formed boards with. When you are cutting this stuff, it gets extremely, extremely dusty. We did not wear masks for the first one we did, and I think I'll show it in a minute. I am wearing a full mask in this build. My brother the dust came out of his sinuses and everything the next day. For me, it took a good month, and I had completely forgotten about it by then, and just got up one morning and thought I was getting a horrible, horrible sinus cold. Spent the entire day just blowing my nose with this awful, awful brown sludge coming out, and eventually I realized, oh yeah, we had cut a horrible mess of MDF without wearing a mask and breathing in that dust all day long. So again, safety goggles, and you need at least a particle mask if you're going to be cutting MDF. Now, obviously, another important tool of any kind of wood building project is out, and here you go. You can see I'm wearing safety goggles, I am wearing a mask, and like I was saying, any important job requires a couple of beers at least, right? Yeah. Little nifty thing we came up with there, just covers for our beers while we were working to avoid getting dust in there. Just a bit of duct tape, two-sided, so that we can easily take it off and on. So here we have the sides complete. We have spacers that we pre-cut to the exact size we needed. which is basically the thickness of the MDF boards. And we're just doing the outline all the way around so that we know where to put the inner spacers inside of the sides, which is where we will end up gluing and nailing in the side panels and the back and all that. And here you go. As I was saying, MDF gets very dusty. So if you're not wearing a mask, all that is going to be inside of your lungs, and that is not a good idea. And again, mask. So again, we're just marking out where we want the spacers, and I'm not sure why this is in black and white, but all right. We're just actually putting in the spacers. So nail gun. If you don't have access to a nail gun, just some finishing nails and a hammer will also do the job. And this is me trying to use the nail gun and film at the same time, as you can see, and that's why when I'm filming, usually I'm just filming. So those, what I call inner spacers, I guess, are basically your frame, and you can see it here, where all the side parts are going to be leaning on, glued on, and tacked on. So again, circular saw, if you have access, amazing tool that's going to speed up your job so much. Here we're just trimming down some of the boards that we need for the sides and so forth to the proper measurements. It sounds dumb, but obviously measure twice, cut once. You don't want to make mistakes. Even though this stuff is cheap, you still need to do a good job. Here's the near finished cabinet. We started taping off here because we were painting the accents. I said in my past video, we did this instead of T-molding because we just couldn't get T-molding and we didn't have the tools. In the background there is my brother drilling the control, and there we have the near finished, actually I think this is the finished painted cabinet. You can see in there the TV frame is installed, the light switch is installed, it works, all the electric is done and works. Yeah, so again, painting, do this outside, wear a mask, and take your time and you will get great results. And here is the finished machine. Hopefully you enjoyed. Have a nice day.